Hello everyone. Today I am here with the Vice Chancellor Sir of Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research. Sir will be answering some of our questions. Good morning, sir.
Good
So
morning.
yes, sir. So let's start with the questions. The first question is that being the Vice Chancellor of Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research, what is your philosophy of leadership and how would you describe your leadership style?
Yeah, my philosophy of leadership of any institution for that matter is to provide participative governance, encouraging ideas from across the whole institution, uh, uh, consensus building, and dispassionate, transparent governance. Uh, as a leader, you should avoid being passionate towards any particular idea, but take the call as per the individual situation. Uh, I have been sort of leading this institution for the last 3 years and 4 months, and I have actually risen from the ranks uh, as an assistant professor in orthopedic surgery to become the head of the department initially. Then I took charge of the dean of education, and then director academic administration, and now presently the vice chancellor.
Sir, so being the Vice Chancellor, how do you strategize about the key programs and plans for the marketing and administration of your school?
Yeah, one of the mottos of our institution is always to look at quality educational programs which are innovative and ultimately are able to allow our students to get appropriate value based or job oriented type of education. With that in mind, uh, we always focus on programs that will be useful to the student in terms of being useful from his ability to earn for himself and also to be useful to the society. Uh, we do give sensitization sessions to our students both at the college level for postgraduate programs and school level for schools going students, and many of our alumni also participate in order to sensitize students towards various programs.
Yes, sir. So, my next question would be the education system in India and other foreign countries are structured very differently. In your experience, what can an inbound student gain from studying here in your institute?
Yeah, now I will explain this slightly differently. The new education policy or the national education policy, which has been sort of approved and it is just about being discussed in every institution, actually today is talking about a 4 year bachelor program with opportunity for students to actually get some internship experience, etc. But our institution, way back in year 2000 itself, have introduced quite many programs which are 4 years, where they do 3 years of intense study, both theory and industrial experience, and the last year is completely towards practical internship training. The reason that we have been able to do this is because many of the medical education, particularly the medical college as well as the dental college, insists upon a mandatory internship of either 6 months or 1 year and things like that. So we borrowed that principle and started introducing the bachelor's program way back in 1998 2000 itself. So now our institution offers most of the BSc programs, almost 80-85% of them, as a 4 year program. So to that extent, we are now in line with the educational policy with the government has introduced just now with our experience of so many different years. So that is one way that we are able to match the global standards, because when you go abroad for any type of higher education or even a job, they do compare the education between our two countries, and so
Yes,
we
sir,
make
definitely.
our students globally also suitable. So that's how we do that.
Yes, sir. So, how does the curriculum of your university or the academics of your university ensure the best practice in the industry?
Yeah, this is something again. When you talk of some of the faculties that we have, the faculty of pharmacy the Faculty of Nursing, the Faculty of Allied Health Sciences, we have to be job oriented to the students' needs. So, with that focus, we have been looking at many of these curricula that have been devised by the respective regulatory council. Now, when you look at this regulatory council, they do talk theoretically about competency building, but many institutions do not practice this in word. So, at our institution, we have always integrated theoretical learning to practical experience in all these areas through hospital-based experiences for students. Many times within our own, see, we actually have almost a 2,200 bedded facility, both as inpatients, and we see almost about 5,000 patients on a daily basis as ambulatory care. So all these patients are able to provide the practical experience to many of our students. Now, in the area of the pharmacy, we do connect with many of the pharmaceutical industries, and we do post our students to go for training through our memoranda of understanding with many organizations. Allied Health Sciences, again, we do allow them not only our own hospital for experience, we also have tied up with some of the corporate hospitals for them to go and get some experience there. So all this on the whole provides so much of ability for the students that they are attracted. The moment they say they are a Ramachandrite, they are wanted, and they do get quite a lot of opportunities both inside India and outside India.
Yes, definitely. So now I would like to know your insights about how your university could be more welcoming to students of different races or from economically backward classes.
See, as a deemed university, we have been given certain prerogatives on recruitment of students. So really, it is not essential, and even the Supreme Court has provided us that leeway that we don't have to really go by the governmental norms in terms of reservation issues, etc. But when we analyzed the student recruitment through our process, we did find that quite a large percentage of students come from the weaker sections of society, from the OBC category, SC, ST, and things like that. So although there is no regulation to bind us to do this, but still in practicality, by the merit system of examination that we conduct, we do find students come out from various different diverse backgrounds.
Yes, sir. So now I'd like to ask you that what do you think should be your university's top priority over the next 10 years?
Yeah, this is a very good question. And we did a small exercise in 2017 as soon as I took charge in terms of the strategic planning of the university for actually 15 years. So all that what we thought of and produced as a document may come in handy for me to answer this question. Our prime focus is to get into academic excellence in whatever we do. Then we also encourage quite a lot of inquisitiveness and discovery as another important theme, which we encourage through our research focus, as also through our students' projects that they select. Of course, as an organization, we do give quite a lot of opportunity for leadership building and creating an integrity amongst our students towards whatever they do. Of course, as a policy, we would like to encourage diversity, but this is something that happens by word of mouth or through so-called marketing strategy or whatever it is, that people will have to come to know about the institution. And it has taken us almost about 20 years before students have started inquiring from across the country and even from abroad to study in our university. But we do encourage diversity amongst our students. And we also, as a group, respect a collegial type of atmosphere within the organization as a principle. So these are some of the focus areas that we do give quite a lot of attention. We would like to increase our international visibility, even though we are known we would like to increase our student strength from the present 7,000 to almost 15,000 in the next 10 years. Start distance education programs and online education programs. We have not ventured too much into those areas. Increase innovative programs which we have started. During my tenure itself, we have increased programs from about 96 to about 138. Almost 40 different programs have added on. Creation of newer faculties. Right now, we are functioning as 12 constituent colleges or faculties, but we would like to add on. Being a healthcare university, we want to keep in line with the present trend towards multidisciplinary university and create some of the faculties like Faculty of Liberal Arts and Humanities and Faculty of other allied health science branches as well. Of course, we have been constantly participating in the National Institutional Ranking Framework and also other quality accreditation bodies in the country. We would like to continue with that and improve our ranking. The last ranking of our university was 28th amongst nearly 3,000 odd universities that participated, and our medical college got a ranking of 13th amongst almost 250 odd. Total number of medical colleges are nearly 591 in the country, but only about 250 or so voluntarily participated in the ranking, and our ranking is 13th. Dental college was 7th and pharmacy college was 26th. So that's how our quality initiatives and quality focus keeps continuing. The National Accreditation and Assessment Council has given us a A+ grade with a CGPA of 3.62 upon 4, and we are about to go in for our third cycle of NAC accreditation. We are also in the process of going for some international ranking through some of these organizations like Times or through QS, and we are in the process of getting ready for the same.
Yes, sir. The future is bright for your university, sir, definitely. So, sir, when you first came to Sri Ramachandra Institute, what was your vision for the university? Has it evolved over time, and how far along implementing that vision are you?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. As I told you earlier itself, I joined here as an youngster, as an assistant professor in orthopedics. At that time, the entire focus was towards the medical college and also towards all medical education. We actually evolved and had to start off many other related health science faculties like nursing, dentistry, physiotherapy, biomedical sciences, public health, so on and so forth. So all these have happened over these years, and so automatically the vision statement also needs to change. And so we did an exercise in 2000 where we actually got ideas from bottom upwards from some of the younger members of the university, and we were able to collate all of them to put our new vision statement in vogue. And this particular change has helped us to create our mission objectives, and we have been able to carry on, and nearly I would say that we have achieved about 60 to 70% of our goals in this area.
That's great. So, sir, now I would like to what are some of the biggest challenges you see, both for the higher education in general and for your university specifically?
See, in spite of all our efforts and doing a quality education and attracting quite a lot of students, I still feel as a Vice Chancellor that we need to improve our public perception, both nationally and internationally. I would like them to know the newer faculties that have been created in Ramachandra. Like many people are still not aware that we have got a faculty of engineering, we have got a faculty of sports sciences, and we have got a faculty of clinical research. Now, these are niche faculties which have been started not with the aim of giving the run-of-the-mill type of courses, but in providing some of the medically related connected courses like computer science as applicable to artificial intelligence, as applicable to cyber security, as applicable to biomedical engineering. So these are some of the things. Even sports sciences, we have got one of the state-of-the-art centers which is probably the best in Asia. And this has been able to attract quite a lot of sportsmen from within the country and also from abroad in terms of their needs, not only in physical training, but also towards their nutritional needs, towards the psychological needs. So it is a comprehensive type of center. And now it is able to provide educations to students in exercise physiology, in sports psychology, in sports physiotherapy, and branches like that. So it is a huge organization itself, which is able to provide all this. Then the newer faculty of clinical research. In India, research has always taken a back seat in many institutions, but we have given quite a lot of importance in creating a central research facility, which was purely a service type of a unit earlier on. But now we have started with our experience to provide appropriate educational programs in clinical research, both at the bachelor's as well as at the master's level. So these are some of the new things that we have introduced. But as a challenge, if you ask me, what are the challenges that we really face in the university? One thing is to keep pace with the newly announced national education policy. There are a few things that certain universities will find it difficult to adjust to, but we are working very closely because of our earlier innovative and imaginative thinking of our previous vice chancellors and other leaders. We have got a very strong base towards adapting to these changes, but still it is going to be a challenge because the faculty training is very, very important in this area. Although we are recognized as a Medical Council of India recognized center for faculty development, and we do quite a lot of faculty development program. However, still there is a lot of scope, and this is a continuous process. There is never ending for any faculty to say that he is completely trained to do everything perfectly. So this is a continuous process that keeps going on. And our student recruitment policies are also a challenge in terms of how we are going to attract more international students and more national students from across the whole country. The other thing is also a challenge is to adapt to the newer educational technologies that are available. Particularly with COVID now, quite a lot of our faculty are fairly well tuned to online education, but this is something which we'll have to also keep pace with what is happening in the world. And the online assessment is another area that all of us are actually looking at to provide for the students. Being a healthcare university, you would agree that a lot of things cannot happen purely online. There is necessity for students to actually come to the institution for practical sessions, particularly with patient-oriented type of learning. And that we do have some challenge in terms of providing that in times of situations like a pandemic right now that we are facing. Also, lastly, I must tell that the biggest challenge now is across the whole country, as is being happening in the Western world. More and more people are moving towards outcome-based education, which means more than achieving competency, one has to define clearly the program outcomes, the course outcomes, and the milestones which students should achieve. And this is an area which is a big challenge, and we are constantly working on this to put the document through so that all the students will be given a copy of it and they can actually be part of this learning process in the institution.
Yes, sir. So, sir, I would like to ask you, are there any suggestions you would like to give to the current youth and aspiring students who are like in their 11th, 12th or in their graduation and looking for post-graduation? And then,
Yeah, as a senior member, what I would like to say to the youth of today is that they are all in a period now when there are many changes that are proposed both through the governmental level and also through other private organizations. And these methods are all at the end of the day student-centric. Always the complaint in the past was that education system in India was more teacher-oriented and less of student orientation. Now this scenario is changing, so that is a great opportunity for each one of them to learn newer things and also learn according to their choice. Now that is something which I would like to tell all the students, that this change has to be embraced by them. They should not be any longer going for the standard programs that are available. They should think about alternative programs that also can be of great help for them to provide jobs or take into professions that can get them. So why not become a great sculpturist? Why can't somebody become great in some arts? People are generally not inclined towards such things. That is one thing that I want to open up for the students, and they are also at a time where um, uh, they can take India to the next level. The reason is, as our Prime Minister tells many times, we have got the highest population amongst this age group. And so that is a huge strength, and they should be able to take India to probably one of the superpowers purely by their own effort. So this is something which I want to tell. And as a healthcare university, being healthcare professionals, I would request students to be more responsive. That is, whenever there is a need, they have to come out. They have to be empathetic and respect values across various societies. So these are some basic humanistic qualities that we expect our students to develop. And so it is not the standard theoretical bookish knowledge that they should be looking for, but they should be looking for becoming a holistic individual who is well versed in almost all the competencies of being a good human being.
Yes, sir. Sir, lastly, I would like to ask you, what would you like people to know about your university that they may not know?
Yeah, as I told you, our university has grown, and over the last 3-4 years itself, our student strength has increased from about 4,000 to 7,000. We have got extraordinarily good faculty who have got a lot of experience, and that numbers to almost 1,000. Many universities will have a student faculty ratio of 1:15 or 1:20, but our university have continuously had a faculty student ratio of 1:8 or 1:9. This is the average faculty student ratio. So there are quite a lot of faculty members who are willing to actually help students in learning things in an appropriate way. We do believe collaborative governance in the organization by having quite a lot of university-based meetings where a lot of youngsters are also invited, including students who are members of many of these committees. We also believe in participative decision making. Nowadays, with technology available, anybody can give suggestions, and whatever comes out very good is usually adapted. We encourage quite a lot of team building efforts within the organization through various committee structures that are worked out. Even among students, there is a quite a lot of project based learning which they do as a group of 20 and things like that. And we are also adaptive towards changing situations like the present COVID situation that we are seeing. So on the whole, right now, as a healthcare university, we are one of the topmost universities in the country. And I'm sure through this particular interview of mine, I'm sure more and more students will look towards becoming students of Sri Ramachandra. And we have got a Ramachandra family atmosphere, as we always call. All our students, all our teachers, all our staff, including the Chancellor, the Pro-Chancellor, and myself are part of that family. And we give that sort of an impression to all our employees.
Sir, thank you for your insight today, sir. I hope it will help the youth a lot and help them in achieving their dreams.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.